Здравейте, скъпи любители на паранормалното и мистерията! Днес ще ви разкажа за няколко изключителни срещи с едно създание, което много хора мислят за човешка измислица. То бе представено в първият епизод и тези, които следят от началото канала, ще се сетят. Но преди да продължа, ще ви помоля да се абонирате за канала и да харесате епизода. Ако харесвате повече криминалните истории, абонирайте се за вторият канал – Криминални мрежи.
Ten years ago, I was diagnosed with melanoma cancer. Me and God were good buddies, and I asked for help, and He sent me people to tell me what to do. And so I went to have a melanoma cancer removed off the top of my head, but they didn't get it all, and I was eventually diagnosed with terminal cancer, and that was a death sentence. Now, fast forward, I'm going to St. Mary's, Alaska with my wife to see my grandchildren, my daughter, Rachel, and son-in-law, possibly for the last time. The day that I saw the Bigfoot, we get into the boat and we're motoring up the Andrevsky River, which flows into the Yukon. We fished all morning, caught nothing, so we found a sandbar and unloaded the kids. And then I said, let's go after steelhead. I had a steelhead on earlier that day, and so my son-in-law, he and I alone jumped in. We went downriver, and he pointed up the hill, and he says, what is that? He whispered, what is that? And I said, that's a big old brown bear. No, what is that? Then it stood up, and when he stood up, he took 2 great big steps and squatted back down and started eating again. In my mind, as a non-believer, I'm thinking, a bear can't do that. He finally passed me the binoculars, and when I looked, I saw fingers this long with the thumb way back here. And I thought, a bear? That's a Bigfoot! And I was just stunned. And so I handed him the binoculars, and then I hear this. Oh! Now we're both believers. And the big guy, that big, beautiful creature, stood up and turned and looked straight at me. I cannot tell you what that did to me. I saw gorilla wrinkles right here. I saw a nose twice as wide as mine. I saw a bare face, a bald forehead with a raised eyebrow ridge right here, no eyebrows. The hair started right on, kind of right up here on towards the top of his head and went all the way to his ankles. The hair started, I think, at his knuckles and went all the way down. I couldn't see hair on the fingers. His shoulders were about this wide, and his body was, oh, so muscular, so incredible. Not much of a neck. We could see it from the front, but from the side and the back, you couldn't see it at all. His head was about twice as wide as mine. The eyes were up a little higher than normal human eyes, and they were either solid black or solid black and brown. I'm not sure which. And he just looked at us. You know, our eyes just locked, and my jaw hit the bottom of the boat. His stare, wow. Well, after about 10 seconds, he turned and knelt and laid down, and then we're trading the binoculars back and forth. I'm wanting to see him again so bad my teeth hurt. If you look out here in the field, there's cows, and I was a cow milker. And I sang to the cows. I taught my kids to sing to the cows. And so I started singing to this Bigfoot. You are my sunshine, my only sunshine. Got through the verse once, and he didn't stand up, so I thought maybe he can't hear me, so I'm raising my voice slowly as I go into the second verse. And I finally got right to, you make me happy when skies are gray. And he stood up. I was elated. Eventually, after about 10 minutes, we watched him walk up that tundra hillside. Great big giant steps. He walked up that mountain faster than I could run down. It was, my son-in-law said, look at that. No human can walk on the tundra like that. And he went over the hill, and the last thing we saw was the top of his head going down the other side of the hill.
This all began for me in 1971 when I was invited into the camp where these guys have been experiencing these horrific sounds around the camp. It was a nightly thing, and I started going up there. 8 miles in the wilderness, a very imposing area in the Sierra Nevada mountains of California. And nobody up there was looking for Bigfoot. It just really wasn't that way. Because we had repeated visits up there, we started taking cassette tape recorders and recording the sounds.
There's 2 of them across the creek at the big rocks.
I spent a career in the Navy as a cryptolinguist, a translator of Russian, Spanish, and Persian. I played it, and I immediately knew. I could hear it, and I was stunned. There's a language here, and that is not a human being. The articulation of the phonemes are virtually the same as humans. They make the same sounds that we do, with about 6 or 7 extra ones that I've never heard a human make in any language. It would be impossible to fake something like this.
According to Dr. Lieberman in 1968 at Brown University, only humans have the apparatus for language like we have. That separates us from all the other animals in the kingdom of this earth. So that tells me something, something pretty significant. If they have the vocal mechanism for language, maybe they're got some human component to them.
With regard to the subject at hand, Bigfooters, Sasquatch, my wife grew up in Ferndale, Washington, right next to the Lumi Indian Reservation. Where she grew up, there were so many Bigfoot sightings, it was just common. The thought that Bigfoot was a legend or maybe did it exist or not never even came up. She was 19 and in college before she met somebody that doubted the existence of Bigfoot, and she was astonished because there wasn't a question, is Bigfoot real? It was just another animal in the woods.
In talking with indigenous people, some of the people will say, you know, the DNA is there. We are related. We are related to the Sasquatch. For them, this is really, it's family. It's a neighbor. It's that connection. It's not different for them.
I read a story by Paul Kane, an artist who wrote a book called Wanderings of an Artist Among North American Indians, and it was published about 1890.
This mountain has never been visited by either whites or Indians. The latter assert that it is inhabited by a race of beings of a different species, who are cannibals, and whom they hold in great dread. These superstitions are taken from the statement of a man who, they say, went to the mountain with another, and escaped the fate of his companion, who was eaten by the skookums, or evil genii. I'd offered a considerable bribe to any Indian, but could not find one hardy enough to venture.
And they would not guide him there no matter what.